The argument against cloud gaming in relation to Overwatch 2. Recurrent fee from subscriptions. Input lag or latency is always bad for fast-paced competitive games. Latency makes cloud unsuitable for FPS games for some players or heroes that are ultra-reliant on immediate response. Insufficient internet or cloud game stream provider infrastructure in many regions means that some users may not be in close proximity to a server. Above means that not everyone has a good enough connection to enjoy game streaming. Data limits in place for many ISPs. Streamed games consume lots of bandwidth and would not be feasible. Difficult and sometimes inconvenient to set up a perfect connection, i.e. wired by Ethernet. Wi-Fi may not be sufficient. Cloud latency cannot match local latency. Latency is especially important when it comes to a first-person shooter in which any delay can be felt and lack of immediacy perceived in every action. Game action must be sent to cloud, which must then be sent to the Overwatch server and vice versa, increasing round trip time. True of any online game. Video stream must be compressed, and this always loses some quality. The user may notice compression artifacts or blurriness subject to connection, bitrate, and encoder. This reduces enjoyment and may make it more difficult to spot an enemy player in-game. Hardware capable of running Overwatch 2 relatively well is inexpensive in some countries. Mix of players from different platforms erodes competitive integrity. Long queue times dependent on subscription tier, service time of day. User may be routed to a faraway server during peak times, which introduces more latency. Downtime with game updates. Buying a machine outright may be preferable. One can always recoup the cost later as there is a resale value attached, which cannot be said for cloud. In-home streaming solutions, e.g. Moonlight, offer some of cloud platforms' advantages, may be more cost-effective. Not every cloud platform or tier is made equal. Xbox Cloud Gaming may offer a markedly worse experience compared to GeForce Now Ultimate. Not everyone can afford or is willing to pay for GeForce Now Ultimate, therefore not everyone experiences the best that cloud can offer. Potential for conflict with game's anti-cheat solution, no ownership or control over the game files. A cloud platform may close down at any given time, see Google Stadia/Anywhere, therefore users invest at their own risk. Now let's go through each point by point. Recurrent fee for subscriptions. Now this doesn't apply to GeForce Now free tier, which is completely free, and I would say the price is actually quite reasonable for even the paid options for Boostroid and GeForce Now. It's something like £10 or £9. Not too bad, I would say. Input lag. My response to this is always it's going to depend on the user. So some people are really going to struggle if they play specific heroes. I play Reinhardt, so it's not really that much of an issue. And I have quite low ping. I have a low distance to my local GFN server, so it's not too bad for me. Next point, insufficient infrastructure. So this is true for many regions, but not for everyone. Some people, if you're not in close proximity, all you have to do really to test this out is just do a speed test on GeForce Now, and when you do the speed test, it will show you, your ping, and you'll know if you're in close proximity to a server. So yeah, not everyone has good enough connection, and data limits. This is true of some American users, I would imagine, but in the UK, a lot of our broadband providers actually don't have data limits. We have unlimited broadband, which is really good, and more of them are kind of removing those limits. So in the future, we won't really have data limits, or at least not feasibly that it's not feasible that you would run into those limits. There's something really high, like 1 terabyte or more than that, but you would probably not run into the data limits with just normal use. Difficult and sometimes inconvenient, and this is true to an extent, but what I recommend as a solution to this problem, I recommend using a power line or using a flat Ethernet cable. What you want to do, you want to get one of those flat Ethernet Wi-Fi Ethernet Cat7 cables. So they're something like £15, £20 on Amazon, and they have a range of 30 meters up to 30 meters. I think I bought the longest 30-meter one, and it's so long I can take it all the way from one end of my house to the other through just one wire. But I use it to connect one room adjacent to another room, because I wanted to drill through the room to allow me to put the Ethernet cable through, but there's going to be difficulty with that, so it's not really convenient. So I just bought a flat Ethernet cable and then put it under the door, and you can even put it under the carpet if you want to go an extra step, and it will look a bit neater. Or you can kind of attach it to the door frame with those pin things. I'm not sure what they're called, but yeah, you can do that. And if that's too inconvenient, you can also use Powerline. I do use a Powerline from my other computer, my other laptop in the other room, and Powerline is basically the kind of like Ethernet, but the internet travels over your built-in power sockets, your through your electricity. It goes through that, which is amazing. I don't know how it works, but it's really cool, and it really does give me a much better connection for cloud gaming, and just generally I get much more stable connection. It's almost as good as Ethernet, but yeah, some power line adapters do have limitations, like some of them only do up to 100 megabits per second. Make sure you get one that is capable of doing 1000 megabits or 1 gigabit connection speed. And they do vary. They have different power line models. Like some of them allow pass through with another power socket on them, so they don't take up a socket. But you do have to connect them to the mains power socket. You don't want to use like a extension lead because it's not going to work correctly. And some of them have Wi-Fi as well built in. I don't use that. But some of them have multiple Ethernet Ethernet connections, so you can connect multiple devices as well. So I do recommend looking into Powerline if you're struggling to set up a wired connection by Ethernet. It's a really good idea to improve your cloud gaming experience. So cloud latency cannot match local latency. This is true, but it's coming very close, as you can see with the GeForce Now, the Nvidia's graph. They actually show, comparing to Fortnite, that they get it down to 30 milliseconds. So yeah, the latency is definitely an issue, and you definitely do feel the latency with certain heroes especially, and it can be very difficult. But with Overwatch, latency wise, it's actually become easier to hit targets now because they've changed the hitboxes, so now it's a bit easier. So yeah, it can be quite difficult with first-person shooters, but it's not as big of an issue that you can't play the game. It's still a playable game. You can still have fun. That's the main thing, right? Game input must be sent to the cloud. So yeah, this point is something other people mention. I don't really notice it as an extra additional input lag over just single player games. I don't really notice it that much. So people do say this, but it's not something I've noticed myself. Video stream must be compressed, and what I would say about this, the loss of quality, is it's really subject to what your bitrate is. Like I say here, on my GeForce Now I have it set to 75 Mbps, and it looks very, very good, almost as good as native. It's so clean, the image quality is very, very good. Even Boosteroid at 25 megabits per second is surprisingly good because of probably the encoding they use, like H.265, it depends. If you use H.265, the stream can look quite good, like AV1 encoding as well can look very good, even at low bit rates. But I recommend 75 Mbps for the best experience. Or you can even increase the bitrate on GeForce Now using, if you edit a file called the shared storage JSON file, you can actually increase the bitrate even to 100 megabits or even maybe higher. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, you can. I haven't tried that, but it can be done. Hardware capable of running Overwatch 2 inexpensive in many countries. So yeah, this is like, if you get an Xbox right now, it's probably £200, and you can look at it as, if you're going to pay for cloud gaming for every month for over a period of 2 years, then that would probably set you back enough to actually buy a full console. Like if it's £10 per month, 12 months, £120, 2 years, that would be £240. That's enough to buy you an Xbox Series S. But I would say that might not be true in relation to, you might want to only buy some months. You might not use cloud gaming every single month, so you might only purchase a few months here and there, and then you would save compared to buying a console outright. So mix of players from different platforms erodes competitive integrity. This is also more something other people bring up. I don't really understand it too much myself, because I don't feel like it does erode competitive integrity that much. If a person is not performing well on a platform, then they will simply lose rank or gain rank if they're playing as good as they normally do. But if it's a disadvantage to play on cloud gaming, if people are saying your latency is going to put you at a big disadvantage, why would these people be in your games? Why would they not lose rank? They should actually lose rank, right? So that shouldn't be a problem. They should be There still be skill-based matchmaking, so they will still be approximately your skill, even with any kind of disadvantage in terms of latency. Long queue times, and this is something that obviously depends on the time of day and the service and tier, but I'm on the GFN free tier, and I can queue up, and I still have quite good queue times. Like sometimes it does get stuck on this almost there screen. I don't know what's going on here, but I do generally get good queue times with the GeForce Now. which is really great as well. And yeah, no queue time. I haven't ever experienced any queue time with Boosteroid. Amazon Luna queue times are amazingly quick as well, like at most 2 minutes. Haven't experienced queue times with Xbox Cloud Gaming, so it's not really something I've experienced, but I do know other people have. But really, I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are trying to make out. It's more vocal. The people with the queue time problems are going to be more vocal about it. So you're going to hear more from them on Reddit and stuff. But it's not as big as a problem as it might seem. Now the next point, user may be routed to a faraway server during peak times, which induces more latency. This is true. What you can do on GeForce Now is actually you can custom select your local server. So if I were to go into GeForce Now, then if I were to select my local server, you can actually do that. Oh, I need to log in. Okay, I'll do that later. But yeah, you can change the setting and you can select your local server, and that will actually, if it's full up, if the region is full up and there's no capacity, then it will actually inform you of that, so you won't be able to queue up. So at least it will save you time. You're not gonna queue up for a full up tier. And yeah, you can leave it on your local server, and that will give you the best experience possible. I usually connect to my local London server, and I get something like 3 milliseconds, or like up to 5 or 6. If I'm using Powerline, then I get a little bit more latency. On my other computer, then I get something like 6 milliseconds. But on my MacBook here, which is connected directly by Ethernet, I get 3 milliseconds, 4 milliseconds at most. So downtime with game updates, I haven't experienced this myself. I know that some people have complained, Baldur's Gate sometimes gets updates and then it takes like a day or two for GeForce Now to catch up. I don't think this is as big of a deal as people make out. If you can wait, most people can wait a day or two, right? It's not a big deal not to play a game for just 1 day or two. While Nvidia updates the game, I don't think it's as big of a deal as people are saying. I know Overwatch recently updated the new Season 9, and I didn't actually experience any kind of downtime. I didn't see any downtime on GeForce Now. It was still, the game updated very, very quickly. Buying a machine outright may be preferable. So yeah, you can't resell your machine, obviously. I mean, you can't resell your cloud gaming money that you paid. That will not have a resale value, whereas you can do it with like an Xbox or a PS5 or a gaming computer. In-home streaming solutions, Moonlight. So this is probably the single best argument against cloud gaming, because it can give you so many of the advantages. Like I can play on my MacBook through Moonlight, connected to my gaming laptop in the other room. I get many of the advantages that are the big advantages for me, like the low fan noise. No fan noise is great for me. I like a quiet gaming experience, and with Moonlight I can do that. I can stream, but there is a bit of latency with this as well. Similar to cloud gaming, I would say it's not really much better. Even though it's on my local network, I would expect it to be a bit better, but it's not really much better. But still, yeah, Moonlight is a great alternative if you have the hardware already, but you need to have that hardware already, otherwise you can't obviously benefit from this. You need to own the gaming capable hardware, like a gaming laptop, in order to use Moonlight and stream it to your other devices. If you do not already own gaming hardware, then cloud gaming is the best solution. Not every cloud platform or tier is made equal, so yeah, Xbox Cloud Gaming is really terrible, I would say. It's not a good demonstration of what cloud gaming can offer. I recommend everyone, if they want to try the best cloud gaming experience, get GeForce Now Ultimate for a day. Buy a day pass, and then you get to experience GeForce Now Ultimate. You can see what cloud gaming is all about. You can use 120 FPS, which will lower your latency as well, give you a better experience, and you can go up to 4K. You can even go up to 240 FPS with some games, I think. And yeah, you can go up to 4K. You can have reflex mode HDR. You can have RTX, and you can have DLSS 3 frame generation, which is great with GeForce Now Ultimate. I really recommend it as the best possible experience. Not everyone can afford or is willing to pay for GeForce Now Ultimate. I would say, yeah, it's quite expensive at £20 per month, but still, if you compare it to buying a fully fledged gaming laptop, it's still cheaper than that, right? Over the period of say a year, if you buy £20 per month times by 12, which would be 240, I think, right? 240 for a year. In 2 years, that would be £480. So you're quite quickly approaching gaming laptop territory in, say, 3 years. Within 3 years, you will have enough money. You will have spent enough money that could have been spent on a gaming laptop. But then you wouldn't have a very high-end gaming laptop. It would take many years many years of GFN Ultimate subscription tier pricing to reach a full 4080 level of hardware. And Remember, your 4080 is not going to upgrade itself, whereas Nvidia does upgrade their GeForce Now servers. So like they went from the 3080 to the 4080 last year, and that was a very big upgrade. So yeah, they do upgrade their hardware over time. So you can't really get that with just buying a machine outright. Potential for conflict with games anti-cheat solution. I do know some people had this problem with Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone. They were getting banned by the the anti-cheat solution that Activision uses. People were getting banned for playing on GeForce Now. I think that's probably being resolved now. So it's kind of a temporary thing. It's not really something that most people experience right now, I think. No ownership or control of the game files. This is mostly about modding. It's not really something that applies to Overwatch, since you don't own Overwatch anyway. Like they took away Overwatch 1 and gave us Overwatch 2, so obviously nobody owns Overwatch. You can't go back to Overwatch 1. No one has control over the game files. And yeah, all you have is a license to play Overwatch. So yeah, this argument does apply to other games, single player games especially, but it doesn't apply to Overwatch, since Overwatch has always been a live service game, and games as a service type of game has always been online, fully online game, and you can't mod it anyway, so it's not really an issue. Um, and yeah, if they decide to revoke your access to the game, you can do nothing about it. They can ban you anytime if they want to, and there have been lots of false bans, so that has been a problem as well. A cloud platform may close down at any time. See Google Stadia /anywhere. Therefore, users invest at their own risk. And yeah, this has happened with Google Stadia. But remember, the people who spent lots of money on Google Stadia, all of that money was refunded. Every single penny was refunded, which is amazing. So like, I actually got a free Google Stadia controller out of it, and I got many free games even on Ubisoft, and then those games got automatically given to me for free on Ubisoft platform, which is great. So basically, I got refunded and I got to keep the stuff, which is amazing. Um, but yeah, you cannot be refunded for like your Google Stadia Pro subscription fees, obviously. And I think Anywhere also, they did close down. They were doing something like a lifetime membership. They were offering a lifetime membership, but I think they refunded everyone who paid for that. I would hope so, because it was very expensive. But yeah, with something like a big corporation like Google Stadia or Nvidia, you're not going to experience problems. They're going to refund you if you spend lots of money like on their stuff, and and you can't use it. Like if you were to buy Nvidia Shield, I imagine that they would actually offer you something if they just decided to turn all the Nvidia Shields off there somehow. I don't know how that would work, but yeah, you can trust these big platforms. Then they're not going to close down anytime soon. Nvidia is not going anywhere with cloud gaming. They're at the forefront of cloud gaming. Boosteroid is doing very well as well. They're not really going anywhere, and there's nothing to invest, since you're just paying for a monthly subscription, and you're not really buying pieces of hardware like you would with Google Stadia. Like, you're not buying a Chromecast Ultra and then a Stadia controller, and you're not buying a lifetime subscription either with most of them. So yeah, those are the arguments against cloud gaming. I hope this was interesting and informative. I hope you learned something, and I tried to give some kind of response to each of these points and kind of explain them a bit more. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.